My LDL was stuck at 119, and that was on a statin. My doctor was comfortable with that number, and most people would stop there, but I didn't. Because from the studies I read, lower LDL is linked to lower heart attack risk. And for me, that mattered. 119 lowers risk, but 80 gave me relief. Not a guarantee, but for me, relief. So I looked at what I could still control without changing my medication. And that's what moved me from 119 to 80. At 119, here's what was true for me. The medication was working, my body was making less cholesterol, my fiber intake was random, and my saturated fat intake was normal, pretty average. Nothing crazy, just average eating. And so my LDL dropped and then it stopped at 119. And that's when I realized LDL moves when you pull the right levers, not just when you try harder. I use two levers to lower my LDL even further than what statins would take me to. And that first lever was raising my fiber, and not just a little bit, not a sprinkle of beans, not a little bit of this or that. I was boosting up to like 50 grams of fiber a day. Now, to be honest, I was also doing this because I was hoping it would act like GLP-1 and cause me to lose a bunch of weight, which it did not do. But surprise, surprise, when I got my cholesterol retested, it lowered my LDL like gangbusters. But it's not the only thing that I did. And roughly, everybody knows eating more fiber just is good for you overall in so many ways. It's kind of a boring topic to talk about. But specifically for cholesterol, it just helps with part of the cycle to get it out of your body, because cholesterol is used and it goes into your intestines. And if you eat a lot of fiber, that fiber will bind to it and you'll excrete it out and you won't reabsorb it, because it's that reabsorbing and constantly pushing it up that gets it really high in your system. And if you eat a lot of fiber, one part of that is getting rid of all that stuff that's going through your intestines. But you got to eat a lot. At least for me, that's what worked. When I really started to bump it up, not just the 30 grams a day, but 50, 60, 90 grams, and then 50 to 60 grams on average, that's when I saw this really kind of move. And it was consistency that made that happen. Now, the second lever that I did, and I did this at the same time, so I can't separate and say it's this or it's that or it's that or it's this. It's not fibers. It's both of these things for sure. And the second thing that I did was lowering my saturated fat, which for me meant I drastically reduced pizza. I drastically reduced ice cream. I was going out to get ice cream after work 2 to 3 times a week. Got rid of a bunch of fried takeout, and I got rid of a bunch of like Chinese takeout things that I was getting a lot every week. And I didn't get rid of them 100%. I just got rid of them like 90 plus percent, like a lot. So I'd still have something a week, but I wouldn't have them every other day. And that was the second lever that really made this work for me. You know, the statin kind of lowered my ceiling, the fiber pushed it even lower, and the lower saturated fat took it all the way. All those three things combined seemed to be what worked perfectly for me. That's when my 119 became 80. Same medication, it didn't change. It was just tweaking these levers of diet that really made a difference for me. So what didn't fix this problem? Well, the big thing, as I mentioned a second ago, was losing weight. I lost somewhere between 25 and 30 pounds after my daughter was born. And that didn't change my cholesterol pretty much at all. Exercising a whole bunch more, that didn't really seem to do anything either. Going out and trying to get a swim in several times a week, and then going to the gym. So like gym and racquetball and swim and doing that several times a week, that didn't seem to do anything to it either. The statin by itself did lower it a whole bunch, but then it kind of flatlined a little bit. And what worked was simple. It was keeping up that statin for me, and then increasing my fiber to the moon, 50 grams to 90 grams a day, pretty much getting rid of as much saturated fat as possible and just doing that consistently. Now, why this matters for me after 40, I'm 47 years old. My life is busy. Everyone's is busy. You're not going to eat perfectly. Taco Bell is always calling. So is McDonald's or whatever your favorite thing is. What you need is a simple plan that you can repeat. And that's what I fell into. I had my core high fiber meals that were somewhere between 30 and 50 grams of fiber in one meal. Yes, I tweaked my Fiber One cereal recipe and these other things. Like I can go to Chipotle and easily get 35 grams of fiber in one meal, no problem. And I did that every day. And it got easy because I had these meals to do that with. I could just like, if I just have my one high fiber meal a day, I'll hit 50. Because if I get that 35, the other 15 is pretty much anything that I eat normally, that's what it's going to be. Most of the stuff I keep to is plant-based, but not 100%. I'm not perfectly healthy. I'm definitely not an A+ eater. But I find that aiming towards that makes this whole thing a lot easier because it lowers the saturated fat by default. And I tend to plan my treats as much as I can. When surprises come in, I balance it out for the course of the week. But generally, I try and keep my ice cream treats now, instead of Andes 3 times a week, I just try and get like the little single serve tiny cups at the bottom shelf of the grocery store so I can have that little ice cream taste. And they usually have a flavor that I like. So those kind of things, they keep me from binging later from too much control, but then they also on average keep my fiber super high and keep my saturated fat down. And that's what worked to get me from 119 to 80 and get the relief that I was looking for. So if your LDL is stuck and you like this and you want to talk to your doctor about what I did and see if it'll work for you, for me, medication lowered my ceiling, how high the statin was, or how high the LDL was from the statin, and food kind of took me all the way to where I wanted it to go based on the studies that I've read. Fiber up, saturated fat down. That was my trick, 119 to 80. If you want to do this yourself, you can see some of the meals that I ate a whole bunch. I have a bunch of, they're not so much recipes. It's like, here's what I ordered at Chipotle, but then I have another thing where I did a copycat Chipotle recipe that I really like, using their kind of lime flavorings and cilantro and stuff that uses like lots of beans and stuff. But anyways, all that I put into here, you can get it for free if you want to see the kind of stuff that I ate and if it interests you or not, and see if you want to eat it for yourself. If nothing else, it's healthy whole foods, and it's good stuff. If you're on your TV, you can use this QR code. If you scan it, it'll take you where it is. It's free to download. Just go to the link or go to the QR code. Pick a meal. I just aim for trying to do one of these things a day. Hit 50 grams or hit 35 grams. Lower your LDL, feel the relief. Do this with your doctor. And I will see you next time.